Am I the a-hole for kicking my roommate out after they accidentally broke my expensive gaming PC and then lied about it? 28M, have been living with my roommate, Mike, 29M, for about 2 years now. We've generally gotten along okay, but we've had our fair share of disagreements. We're both gamers, so we often spend hours playing together or separately in our shared living room. I've always been the more tidy and organized one, while Mike is a bit more laid back and messy. Last week I came home from work to find that my expensive gaming PC was not working. I had just upgraded it a few months ago, and it was still in great condition. I was using it to play some games, and when I turned it on, it just wouldn't boot up. I was frustrated, but I tried to remain calm and started troubleshooting. As I was taking it apart to diagnose the problem, I discovered that the GPU was loose and the RAM was damaged. It looked like someone had been messing around with the internals. I immediately asked Mike if he had touched my PC, and he swore he hadn't. He said he was busy playing his own games on his console and hadn't even gone near my computer. I wasn't sure if I believed him, but I didn't want to accuse him of lying without evidence. I decided to give him the benefit of the doubt and asked if he had seen anyone else messing with my PC. He shook his head, and I let it drop. The next day, I took my PC to a repair shop, and they told me that it was going to cost a few $100 to fix. They said that it looked like someone had tried to upgrade the RAM, but had done it incorrectly, causing damage to the motherboard. When I got home, I confronted Mike again, and this time, I was more direct. I told him that I knew someone had been messing with my PC, and I was starting to think it was him. He got defensive and denied it again, but I could tell he was hiding something. It wasn't until a few days later, when Mike was out, that I found a text message on his phone from his friend, Alex. The message said, "Dude, sorry about breaking your roommate's PC. I was trying to help you upgrade it, but I guess I messed it up." I was furious. So, Mike had been lying to my face, and his friend had been the one to break my PC. When Mike got home, I confronted him with the text message. He finally admitted that Alex had been over, and they had been trying to upgrade my PC without my permission. He claimed it was an accident, and that he had been too scared to tell me. I was livid. Not only had Mike broken my expensive gaming PC, but he had also lied about it and tried to cover it up. I told him that he needed to move out, and I gave him an ultimatum. Either he could find a new place to live and move out within a month, or I would kick him out immediately. Mike got angry and said I was being unfair. He claimed that he was sorry and that it was just an accident. He also said that I was being too harsh and that we could work something out, but I was done. I told him that I didn't want to live with someone who would lie to my face and break my property. I gave him a formal eviction notice, and I'm planning to start looking for a new roommate. Now I'm wondering, am I the a-hole for kicking Mike out? Was I too harsh, or was I justified in taking action? Should I have given him another chance, or was it time to cut ties? Let me know in the comments or edit. I should add that Mike has been a bit of a freeloader throughout our living situation. He's always leaving his dirty dishes for me to clean, and he's often late with his rent. I've been shouldering a lot of the household responsibilities, and it's been a bit of a strain on our relationship. Edit 2. I've also been thinking about the fact that Mike's friend Alex is a bit of a troublemaker. He's always coming over and causing chaos, and I've had to ask him to leave a few times. Maybe I should have seen this coming. Am I the a-hole for calling out my roommate for using my expensive skincare products and then lying about it? I, 28F, live with 2 roommates, Rachel, 27F, and Mike, 29M, in a 3-bedroom apartment. We all get along pretty well, but we've had our fair share of issues. Recently, I've been noticing that some of my expensive skincare products have been going missing. I'm talking about high-end stuff that costs upwards of $50 per bottle. At first, I thought I was just being paranoid or misplacing things, but after the 3rd or 4th time it happened, I started to get suspicious. I asked Rachel and Mike if they had seen or used any of my products, and they both denied it. I let it go, thinking maybe I was just being too uptight. Fast forward a few weeks, and I was getting ready for bed when I walked into the bathroom and saw Rachel washing her face with my La Mer moisturizer. I was taken aback, to say the least. I asked her what she was doing, and she claimed she was just borrowing it because she was curious about the brand. I was livid. Borrowing is not the same as using half the bottle and not replacing it. I told her that my products are not communal and that she needs to ask before using them. She got defensive, saying that I was being stingy and that we're roommates, we share stuff. I reminded her that we've had discussions about respecting each other's personal belongings and that my skincare products are not something I'm comfortable sharing. The next day, Mike comes to me and says, "Hey, Rachel told me you freaked out on her for using your fancy face cream." I told him what happened and he seemed understanding, but then he dropped a bombshell. "To be honest, I've used some of your products too." I figured it was no big deal since we're all adults and we're not hurting anyone. I was shocked, not just because Mike had used my products without asking, but because he was being so nonchalant about it. I told him that it's not okay to use someone else's stuff without permission, especially when it's expensive and personal. He shrugged it off and said, "Sorry, I didn't think it was a big deal. Here's the thing. Both Rachel and Mike have lied about using my products. They both denied it when I first asked, and only came clean when they got caught or felt guilty. I'm furious. I feel like they have no respect for my belongings or my boundaries. I've been seething about this for days, and I'm not sure how to bring it up with them again. I've considered having a calm and rational conversation, but I'm worried that they'll just deny it again or get defensive. I've also thought about setting up a camera in the bathroom to catch them in the act. Just kidding. Or am I? Am I the a-hole for calling out my roommates for using my products and lying about it? Or are they being unreasonable and entitled? Should I just let it go and buy more products? Or is it time to reevaluate our living situation? Edit. I should add that we've had issues with Rachel borrowing clothes and other personal items without asking, and Mike has a history of forgetting to pay his share of the bills on time. Maybe I'm just more sensitive to this because of our past issues. Edit 2. I've had a few people ask for clarification on our living situation. We all signed a lease together, and we split the rent and utilities 3 ways. We have a pretty chill living environment, but we've had our share of disagreements. I'm not looking to kick anyone out or be vindictive. I just want to resolve this issue and move forward. Am I the a-hole? I, 28F, told my best friend, 29F, that her fiancé, 30M, is cheating on her, and she thinks I'm jealous and ruining her life. 28F have been best friends with Sarah, 29F, since college. We've been through thick and thin together, and I've always been there for her, no matter what. So when she told me she was getting married to her boyfriend, Alex, 31, I was happy for her. I had met Alex a few times, and he seemed like a nice guy. A bit arrogant, maybe, but Sarah loved him, and that's all that mattered. Fast forward to a few months ago, when Sarah and Alex started making wedding plans. I was happy to be a part of the process, helping with everything from choosing the venue to picking out decorations. However, as the wedding planning progressed, I started to notice some red flags. Alex would often dismiss Sarah's opinions and make decisions without consulting her. He would also make snide comments about her friends and family, saying they were beneath him. At first, I brushed it off as just wedding jitters, but as time went on, I started to feel a growing sense of unease. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but something about Alex didn't feel right. I started to notice that he would often be working late or out with friends on weekends, and Sarah would be left alone, wondering where he was. One night, about 2 months ago, I was out with some friends at a bar when I saw Alex with another woman. They were laughing and having a great time, and it was clear that they were more than just friends. I was taken aback, and my first instinct was to confront him, but I didn't. I figured it was none of my business, and that Sarah deserved to know. The truth from him, not from me. However, as the days went by, I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was wrong. I started to do some digging, and what I found shocked me. Alex had a history of cheating on his previous girlfriends, and there were several online forums where people were discussing his infidelity. I was torn. Part of me wanted to tell Sarah the truth, but another part of me was scared of ruining our friendship. What if she didn't believe me? What if she thought I was just being jealous? But as the wedding drew closer, I knew I had to say something. I couldn't just stand by and watch Sarah marry a man who was potentially going to hurt her, so I asked to meet her for coffee, and I told her everything. I showed her the online forums and told her about the night I saw Alex with another woman. Sarah was devastated. She didn't believe me at first, but as I showed her more evidence, she started to crack. She confronted Alex, who, of course, denied everything. But Sarah was smart, and she did some digging of her own. She found out that Alex had been cheating on her with multiple women, and that he had a history of it. The aftermath was brutal. Sarah was heartbroken, and she felt like she had been living in a dream world. She called off the wedding and broke up with Alex. But to my surprise, she started to turn on me. She said that I had ruined her life, and that I was jealous of her. Happiness. You're just mad that you're not getting married, she said. You're trying to sabotage my relationship because you're unhappy with your own life. I was taken aback. I had expected her to be angry with Alex, not with me. I tried to explain to her that I was just trying to help, but she wouldn't listen. She said that I had been obsessed with her relationship and that I had been trying to control her. The days that followed were brutal. Sarah stopped talking to me, and our mutual friends took her side. They said that I had overstepped and that I should have just minded my own business. I was shocked and hurt. I had expected some backlash, but I hadn't expected it to be this bad. As the days turned into weeks, I started to question whether I had done the right thing. Was I the a-hole for telling Sarah the truth? Should I have just kept my mouth shut and let her marry a cheater? But as I reflected on the situation, I realized that I had done what was right. I had tried to protect Sarah from someone who was going to hurt her. I had been a good friend, and I had done what was in her best interest. It's been a few months now, and Sarah is slowly starting to come around. She's realized that Alex was a toxic partner and that I had been trying to help her. She's apologized for blaming me, and we're starting to rebuild our friendship. But the experience has left a scar. I'm still hurt that our mutual friends took her side and that they didn't see the truth. I'm still wondering if I was wrong to intervene and if I should have just kept my mouth shut. As I look back on the situation, I realize that I'm not the a-hole. I was trying to protect my friend from someone who was going to hurt her. I was being a good friend, and I did what was in her best interest. But I do wonder, am I the a-hole for feeling hurt and betrayed by Sarah's reaction? Should I have just expected her to be angry with me and not taken it personally? Or was I right to feel hurt and to expect my friend to be grateful for my honesty? I'm still figuring it out, but one thing is for sure. I'll be more careful about who I confide in, and I'll be more prepared for the backlash. I'll also be more mindful of my own boundaries, and I'll make sure to prioritize my own emotional well-being. So, Redditors, am I the a-hole? Was I right to tell Sarah the truth, or should I have just kept my mouth shut? Was I being a good friend, or was I overstepping? Let me know in the comments, Edit. I just wanted to add that I've been getting a lot of messages from people saying that I was right to tell Sarah the truth and that I wasn't the a-hole. It's been really helpful to hear that, and it's made me feel a bit better about the whole situation. Edit 2. I've also been getting a lot of messages from people saying that I should have handled the situation differently. Some people are saying that I should have confronted Alex directly, while others are saying that I should have just waited for Sarah to figure it out on her own. I appreciate the feedback, and I'm still thinking about what I could have done differently. Edit 3. I just wanted to update everyone that Sarah and I are slowly rebuilding our friendship. We're not back to where we were before, but we're getting there. She's still dealing with the aftermath of the breakup, but she's getting stronger every day. I'm grateful to have her back in my life, and I'm hoping that we can put this behind us and move forward. Edit 4. I've been thinking a lot about the comments I've received, and I wanted to respond to some of the common themes. Some people have been saying that I was lucky that Sarah is coming around, and that I shouldn't expect everyone to react the same way. Others have been saying that I should have been more prepared for the backlash, and that I should have had a support system in place. I appreciate the feedback, and I'm taking it to heart. I'm realizing that being a good friend isn't always easy, and that it requires a lot of emotional labor. I'm also realizing that I'm not alone in this. There are a lot of people out there who have been in similar situations and who have come out the other side. Thanks for reading, Redditors. I'll be taking your comments and feedback to heart, and I'll be thinking about this situation for a long time to come. Am I the a-hole? I, 28M, refused to attend my sister's 25F wedding because she stole my girlfriend, 24F. I, 28M, am still reeling from the aftermath of my sister's 25F wedding, which took place a few weeks ago. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm still bitter about the whole ordeal. My sister and I have always been close, or so I thought. We've had our fair share of sibling squabbles, but I never thought she'd stoop so low as to sabotage my relationship. The drama started about 6 months ago when I met my now girlfriend, Rachel, 24F, at a mutual friend's party. We hit it off immediately, and I was smitten. We started dating and everything seemed perfect. Rachel was lovely, kind, and beautiful. What more could I ask for? Fast forward to a few months into our relationship, my sister started to get closer to Rachel. They would hang out, go shopping, and even have sleepovers together. I wasn't too concerned at first, thinking it was great that my sister and girlfriend got along. However, things took a turn when I started noticing that my sister was being overly flirtatious with me around Rachel. She would make suggestive comments, touch my arm or shoulder, and even make eyes at me when Rachel wasn't looking. At first, I brushed it off as my sister being her usual playful self, but as time went on, I realized that her behavior was becoming increasingly uncomfortable. I started to feel like she was trying to get between us, and I didn't like it one bit. One night, Rachel and I had a heart-to-heart about my sister's behavior. Rachel confessed that she had been feeling uneasy about my sister's actions as well, and that she had tried to talk to her about it. Apparently, my sister had become defensive and told Rachel that she was just being friendly and that Rachel was being too sensitive. Things escalated when my sister started to make moves on me. She would accidentally walk in on me when I was getting out of the shower, or forget to knock on my door when I was changing. I was mortified. I tried to talk to her about it, but she just laughed it off, saying I was being paranoid. The final straw came when Rachel caught my sister kissing me on the cheek at a family gathering. Rachel was furious, and rightfully so. I confronted my sister and she broke down, confessing that she had developed feelings for me. I was taken aback, not only because she had feelings for me, but also because she had been so blatant about it in front of Rachel. The aftermath was messy. Rachel was hurt and angry, and I was stuck in the middle, trying to comfort her while also dealing with my sister's betrayal. My parents were oblivious to the whole situation, and I didn't want to burden them with it, so I kept it to myself. Fast forward to my sister's wedding. I received an invitation, and I was torn. Part of me wanted to attend and support my family, but another part of me was still fuming about what had happened. I decided not to attend, citing work commitments as an excuse. My parents were understanding, but my sister was furious. She called me, screaming at me, saying that I was being selfish and that I was ruining her special day. Now my family is up in arms, saying that I'm being petty and that I should have just put my differences aside for the sake of my sister's wedding. My mum has been calling me non-stop, asking me to explain myself. My dad even went as far as to say that I'm being un-Christian and that I need to forgive my sister. But here's the thing, I'm not sure I can forgive her. Not yet, at least. She crossed a line and I'm still reeling from the aftermath. I feel like I'm being villainized for standing up for myself and my relationship. As I've been reading through the comments on this subreddit, I've come across people saying that I'm being unreasonable and that I should just forgive my sister. Some have even gone as far as to say that I'm the a-hole for not attending the wedding, but I'm not so sure. I think I've been more than reasonable, considering the circumstances. I've tried to talk to Rachel about it, and she's been supportive, but I can tell she's still hurt. We've been working through our issues, and I'm committed to making our relationship work. But I'm not sure if I can ever fully trust my sister again. I've also been thinking about the dynamics of our family and how they've contributed to this situation. My parents have always been a bit clueless when it comes to conflicts between my sister and me. They've always tried to sweep things under the rug rather than addressing the root cause of the issue. I think that's part of the reason why my sister felt emboldened to pursue me, even after I was in a relationship. As I've been reflecting on this whole ordeal, I've come to realize that I'm not just angry with my sister. I'm also hurt. I feel like I've lost a sibling, and that's a hard pill to swallow. I'm not sure if things will ever go back to normal between us, but I'm willing to try. So Redditors, am I the a-hole? Was I justified in not attending my sister's wedding, or was I being petty and selfish? I'm still trying to figure that out. Edit. I've been getting a lot of comments saying that I should have just talked to my sister about her feelings instead of avoiding the wedding. But here's the thing. I did try to talk to her about it, and she just denied everything and got defensive. I'm not sure what else I could have done. Edit 2. I've also been getting a lot of comments saying that I'm being too hard on my sister and that she was just being friendly. But as I've mentioned earlier, her behavior was not just friendly. It was flirtatious and borderline predatory. I'm not okay with that, and I don't think Rachel should be either. Edit 3. I've been thinking a lot about my sister's motivations and why she might have done what she did. I've come to realize that she's always been a bit of a narcissist, and I think she saw me as a prize to be won. She couldn't stand the fact that I was in a relationship and that I was happy. I'm not making excuses for her behavior, but I think it's worth considering. As I continue to read through the comments, I'm still not sure if I'm the a-hole or not, but I do know that I'm not going to apologize for standing up for myself and my relationship. If my sister can't respect that, then that's on her. I'll continue to update this post as I get more comments and insights from you all. Thanks for reading, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Am I the a-hole? I 28 mem. Got into a huge fight with my best friend, 28 mem, over his new girlfriend, 25F, and I'm still not sure if I was wrong, 28 mem. Have been friends with my best friend, Mike, 28 mem, since we were kids. We've been through thick and thin together, and I've always considered him to be more than just a friend. He's like a brother to me. We've shared countless memories, supported each other through various struggles, and have always been there for one another. Recently, Mike met a girl named Sarah, 25F, through a mutual friend. They hit it off immediately, and Mike was smitten. He told me all about her on the day they met, and I was happy for him. As they started dating, Mike would often talk to me about their relationship, sharing stories and anecdotes about their dates and interactions. At first, everything seemed normal. Mike was excited, and I was excited for him. However, as the days went by, I started to notice some red flags. Sarah would often call or text Mike multiple times a day, and he would get anxious or irritated if he didn't respond immediately. She would also show up unannounced at his workplace or at his favorite hangouts, surprising him. Mike found it endearing, but I thought it was a bit much. One evening, Mike invited me to meet Sarah at a bar. I was a bit apprehensive, but I agreed to meet them. As soon as I saw Sarah, I knew something was off. She was overly flirtatious with me, touching my arm and laughing loudly at everything I said. I tried to brush it off as mere friendliness, but Mike seemed to take it as a sign that I was checking her out. He playfully teased me about it, and I let it slide. As the night went on, I noticed that Sarah was dominating the conversation, barely letting Mike or me get a word in edgewise. She was talking about herself non-stop, and Mike was eating it up like a starving man. I started to feel a bit uneasy, but I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. The next day, Mike called me and asked for my honest opinion about Sarah. I hesitated, not wanting to be too harsh, but I told him that I thought she was a bit much. I mentioned that she seemed to be dominating the conversation and that I felt a bit uncomfortable around her. Mike got defensive, saying that I was just being too critical and that I didn't give her a fair chance. I tried to reassure him that I was coming from a good place, but he just laughed it off and told me I was being too protective. I let it go, thinking that maybe I was overreacting. However, as the days went by, things started to get weirder. Sarah would show up at Mike's place unannounced, and he would let her in even if he was in the middle of something. She would start rearranging his furniture, organizing his kitchen, and even doing his laundry. Mike would come to me and complain about how much work it was to keep up with her, but he wouldn't do anything to stop her. I started to get frustrated. I felt like Mike was losing himself in this relationship, and I didn't know how to help him. I tried talking to him about it, but he just shrugged it off, saying that Sarah was just trying to help. I felt like he was in denial, and it was getting on my nerves. The final straw came when Mike invited me to join them for a weekend getaway to the beach. I agreed, thinking it would be a good opportunity to get to know Sarah better. However, as soon as we arrived, I realized that something was seriously off. Sarah had planned out every single minute of the trip, from the activities to the meals to the accommodations. Mike was going along with it, but I could tell he was getting a bit overwhelmed. I tried to talk to him about it, but he just rolled his eyes and told me to relax. As the weekend went on, I started to feel like I was trapped in some kind of bizarre cult. Sarah was controlling every aspect of our lives, and Mike was just going along with it. I felt like I was the only one who saw it, and it was driving me crazy. The tension came to a head on the second night of our trip. We were at a beachside bar, and Sarah was being her usual dominating self. I had had enough, and I confronted Mike about it. I told him that I thought Sarah was controlling and manipulative, and that he needed to take a step back and reevaluate the relationship. Mike got angry, saying that I was being jealous and that I was trying to ruin his happiness. The argument escalated, and we ended up getting into a huge fight. Sarah intervened, siding with Mike and telling me that I was being too critical and unsupportive. I stormed out of the bar, feeling frustrated and defeated. The next day, Mike called me and told me that he needed some space. He said that he understood where I was coming from, but he felt like I was being too harsh on Sarah. I apologized for my part in the argument, but I also told him that I couldn't just stand by and watch him get hurt. It's been a few weeks since the fight, and Mike and I haven't spoken much. I've been trying to give him space, but it's hard not to feel like I'm the one who's being reasonable here. I feel like I'm protecting Mike from someone who's not good for him, but at the same time, I don't want to be that guy who ruins his friend's relationship. So, Redditors, am I the a-hole? Was I being too critical and unsupportive, or was I just trying to protect my friend from someone who's not good for him? I'm still not sure, and it's driving me crazy. Edit. I should add that Mike and I have had our fair share of fights over the years, but we've always managed to work things out. This time, however, it feels different. I feel like Mike is really invested in this relationship, and I'm not sure if he's willing to listen to my concerns. Edit 2. I've been getting a lot of comments saying that I should just stay out of it and let Mike make his own decisions. I understand where you're coming from, but it's hard for me to just sit back and watch my friend get hurt. I've known Mike for a long time, and I feel like I have a responsibility to look out for him. Edit 3. I've also been getting some comments saying that I'm being sexist and that I'm hating on Sarah because she's a woman. I want to assure you that that's not the case. I'm not against Sarah because she's a woman. I'm against her because of her behavior. If Mike were dating a guy who was behaving in the same way, I'd be just as concerned. Edit 4. I just wanted to add a final update. I've been thinking a lot about this situation, and I've come to realize that maybe I was a bit too harsh on Sarah. I've been trying to see things from Mike's perspective, and I understand that he's happy with her. I'm still not sure if I'm the a-hole or not, but I'm willing to put our friendship first and move forward. I'll be reaching out to Mike soon to try to work things out. Thanks for all the feedback, Redditors. Am I the a-hole for firing my best friend and business partner after they lied to me about their personal life and caused a huge mess in the company? I'm about to share a story that's going to be a doozy, so buckle up, folks. I'll try to keep it concise, but it's a complex situation, so bear with me. I've been running a successful marketing firm with my best friend Rachel for about 5 years now. We started the company together, and it's been a wild ride. We've had our ups and downs, but we've always managed to come out on top. We're more than just business partners. We're like sisters. We've been through thick and thin together, and I consider her one of my closest friends. Recently, we've been expanding our company, and things have gotten a bit crazy. We've hired a bunch of new employees, and we're taking on bigger clients. It's been a lot to handle, but we're managing. Or at least I thought we were. Last week, I found out that Rachel had been going through some personal issues that she hadn't shared with me. She'd been struggling with a pretty serious addiction, and it had been affecting her work. I'm not talking about just showing up late or being a little hungover. I'm talking about full-blown can't get out of bed, can't make it to meetings addiction. At first, I was understanding. I'd been through some tough times myself, and I knew how hard it was to deal with. I told her that I was there for her, and that we could work through it together. But then I started digging deeper, and what I found out was shocking. It turned out that Rachel had been lying to me about her personal life for months. She'd been telling me that she was fine, that everything was great, when in reality she was struggling to get out of bed some mornings. She'd been making up excuses for why she was late or why she couldn't make it to meetings. She'd even been delegating tasks to other employees without telling me, which caused some major issues with our clients. I was hurt, to say the least. I felt like she'd betrayed my trust. I'd been there for her, supporting her, and she'd been lying to me the whole time. I didn't know what to do, but then things got even worse. One of our biggest clients called me furious because they'd been having some major issues with the project that Rachel had been working on. It turned out that she'd been so out of it that she'd messed up some major details, and the client was threatening to pull their business. That's when I realized that I had to take action. I couldn't just sit back and watch our company implode because of Rachel's personal issues. I called a meeting with her and explained the situation. I told her that I was disappointed, hurt, and angry. I told her that I couldn't continue to work with her if she wasn't going to be honest with me. To my surprise, Rachel broke down and admitted to everything. She told me that she'd been struggling, that she was sorry, and that she was getting help. She promised to get her act together and make things right. But it was too late. The damage was done. I'd lost trust in her, and I couldn't just forget about the lies she'd told me. I told her that I was going to have to let her go, both as a business partner and as an employee. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, am I the a-hole for firing my best friend and business partner? And honestly, I'm not sure. Part of me feels like I was too harsh, that I should have given her another chance. But another part of me is convinced that I did. The right thing. After all, our company is my livelihood. I've worked hard to build it, and I couldn't just let it fall apart because of someone else's personal issues. And what about the other employees? They were counting on us to provide for them, and Rachel's actions were putting that at risk. On the other hand, Rachel is my best friend. We've been through so much together, and I feel like I've abandoned her. I know she's struggling, and I feel guilty for not being more supportive. As I'm writing this, I'm still trying to process everything. I feel like I'm torn in two. Part of me is relieved that I made the decision I did, and another part of me is consumed with guilt and doubt. So, Reddit, am I the a-hole for firing my best friend and business partner? Was I too harsh, or was it necessary to protect our company? I'm genuinely torn, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Edit. I should add that Rachel has been reaching out to me, apologizing and asking for another chance. She's been saying that she's getting help and that she's committed to making things right. It's hard to see her messages and not feel a pang of guilt, but at the same time, I'm still hurt and angry about what happened. Edit 2. I've been getting a lot of comments saying that I should have been more supportive, that I should have given Rachel another chance. And I get it, I really do. But here's the thing, I was supportive, I was there for her, and I encouraged her to get help. But she lied to me, repeatedly. She betrayed my trust, and that's not something that I can just forget. Edit 3. I've also been getting comments saying that I should have had a plan in place for dealing with situations like this. And that's a fair point. We didn't have a clear policy on how to handle personal issues or addiction in the workplace, but at the same time, I don't think that's something that you can plan for. It's not like we had a crystal ball that told us Rachel was going to struggle with addiction. Edit 4. I've been thinking a lot about this, and I've come to realize that I'm not just hurt because Rachel lied to me. I'm also hurt because I feel like I failed her. I feel like I should have seen the signs, like I should have been more aware of what was going on. It's hard to shake the feeling that I'm responsible, at least in part, for what happened. Edit 5. I just wanted to add one more thing. I've been getting a lot of comments saying that I'm being too hard on Rachel, that I should be more understanding. And I get it. I'm trying to be. But at the same time, I need to think about the well-being of our company. I need to think about the other employees who are counting on us. It's not just about Rachel. It's about all of the people who are affected by our decisions. So Reddit, I'm still torn. Am I the a-hole for firing my best friend and business partner? Let me know what you think. Am I the a-hole for kicking my roommate out after they accidentally broke my $5,000 sound system? For the third time, I'm still fuming as I write this, so bear with me. I've been living with my roommate, Mike, for about 2 years now. We get along pretty well most of the time. We're both music enthusiasts and we often have friends over to jam and have a good time. I've got a pretty sweet sound system set up in our living room, which I've invested a lot of money into over the years. I'm talking top-of-the-line speakers, a high-end amp, the works. It's worth around $5,000, and I'm really proud of it. The problem is, Mike has a bit of a clumsy streak. He's always knocking over drinks, tripping over cords, and generally being a bit of a hazard around the house. I've learned to just roll with it, and I've even gotten pretty good at dodging his mishaps. But when it comes to my sound system, I'm a bit more protective. The first time Mike accidentally broke my sound system was about a year ago. He was trying to help me set up for a party, and he knocked over a speaker, damaging the woofer. I was pretty upset, but I let it slide because it was an honest mistake. We worked together to repair it, and I even helped Mike pay for part of the cost. Fast forward to a few months ago, and Mike does it again. This time he's trying to help me by moving one of the speakers to make room for a new couch. He ends up dropping it down the stairs, and the tweeter gets smashed. I was furious this time, but I still tried to be understanding. We talked it through, and I made it clear that I was getting a bit tired of his carelessness. We agreed that he'd be more careful in the future, and I even offered to take out insurance on the equipment to cover any future accidents. But of course, it happened again. Last weekend, Mike was having a few friends over, and they were all messing around trying to improve my sound system by rerouting some of the cables. Mike ends up yanking out the wrong cord, and the whole system goes dark. I'm talking catastrophic. Failure? The amp is fried, the subwoofer is toast, and one of the speakers is blown to smithereens. That's it, I've had enough. I'm done with Mike's carelessness, and I'm done with the excuses. I sat him down and told him that I was kicking him out. I mean, I've been more than patient, and it's not like I haven't warned him. I told him that he had 30 days to find a new place, and that I'd be looking for a new roommate. Mike was shocked, to say the least. He claimed that it was an accident, and that he was just trying to help. He even had the nerve to get a bit defensive, telling me that I was being too sensitive about my sound system. I mean, what? Now I'm wondering, am I the a-hole for kicking Mike out? Was I being too harsh? I mean, it was an accident, right? But at the same time, it's not like it was the first time, and it's not like I'm asking Mike to pay for the damages or anything. Although, I mean, that would be nice. I just want him to take responsibility for his actions and to be more considerate of other people's stuff. The worst part is, Mike is now acting like the victim. He's telling all our mutual friends that I'm being unreasonable and that I'm kicking him out on the street. I've even gotten a few messages from friends telling me to calm down and be more understanding. But I'm not being unreasonable. I'm just tired of being taken advantage of. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I've come to the realization that Mike was never really a responsible roommate. He's always leaving his dirty dishes for me to clean, and he's consistently late. With his rent payments, I've been covering for him for too long, and it's time for me to take care of myself. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for kicking Mike out? Was I justified in my decision, or was I being too harsh? Should I have given Mike another chance, or was it time to cut him loose? Edit. I should add that Mike has a history of being careless with other people's stuff. He's broken friends' equipment, scratched people's cars, and even set off the fire alarm at a restaurant by accident. So it's not like this is out of character for him. Edit 2. I've had a few people ask for more context about our living situation. We're in a pretty big house with 4 bedrooms and a big living room. The sound system is a big part of our living space, and we often have people over to hang out and enjoy the music. Mike and I have a pretty chill vibe, and we've had some great times together. But I guess when it comes down to it, we just have different standards when it comes to taking care of stuff. Edit 3. I've been getting a lot of comments saying that I should have just gotten rid of the sound system if it was that big of a deal. But let me tell you, that sound system is my baby. I've spent years curating it, and it's a huge part of my identity. I'm not just going to get rid of it because Mike can't be bothered to be careful. Edit 4. Mike just messaged me saying that he's found a new place and will be moving out in 2 weeks. I'm relieved, to be honest. I just want to put this whole ordeal behind me and move on. Thanks for all the comments, Reddit. I've enjoyed reading your thoughts on the matter. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my parents to attend my wedding? Background. So I, 29F, am getting married in a few months to my fiancé, Jake, 31M, and we couldn't be more excited. We have been together for 5 wonderful years, and we are both ready to start this new chapter in our lives. However, there's been a significant ongoing issue with my parents, particularly my mother, that has put a dark cloud over our wedding plans. Growing up, my home life was pretty tumultuous. My parents were always fighting, and sadly my mom often took her frustrations out on me. She would belittle me, criticize my appearance, and make comments that stuck with me for years. My father was frequently absent, often choosing to escape into his work rather than deal with the chaos at home. Their dysfunctional relationship shaped me in many ways, but one of the biggest consequences was my struggle with self-esteem and my desire to maintain healthy boundaries. Despite all this, I tried to maintain a semblance of a relationship with them. I thought that when I became an adult, I'd be able to understand them as people rather than just my parents. Throughout my 20s, I made attempts to bond with them and keep the lines of communication open. However, my mother's behavior never changed, and over the past few years, it reached a breaking point. The incident. During a family dinner last year, we got into a heated argument. My parents had come over to celebrate my birthday. I was excited, but quickly became disheartened when my mother made a series of backhanded compliments about my choices in life, particularly about my career and my relationship with Jake. You sure you want to marry him? He's just a tech geek, not someone who will be able to support you like I wanted for you, she said with an exaggerated sigh, dismissing Jake's successful career in a way that felt like nails on a chalkboard. At that moment, everything surged to the surface. I couldn't hold back my feelings any longer. I confronted her, telling her how her words hurt and how her expectations were suffocating. The argument escalated, and my father tried to intervene, but his efforts fell flat. Finally, my mom stormed out, and I was left shaken but relieved to have voiced my feelings. In the weeks that followed, I tried reaching out and mending things, but my mom was unrepentant. She only doubled down on her views, telling me I was being ungrateful for the sacrifices she had made for me. The ongoing conflict led to a deep re-evaluation of my relationship with them. Fast forward to the wedding planning. I was initially excited to include my parents in this special day, but the persistent negativity I had experienced from my mother made me reconsider. After discussing it with Jake, we both agreed that we wanted our wedding to be a celebration of love, togetherness, and joy. We didn't want any negativity, drama, or criticism creeping in on a day that was supposed to be pure bliss. A few weeks ago, I reached out to my mom to let her know that, due to the ongoing tensions and my mental health concerns, I had decided I wouldn't feel comfortable having them at the wedding. I explained my feelings and hoped she would understand. The fallout, too. Say the reaction was explosive would be an understatement. My mother responded with rage, calling me selfish and claiming I was rejecting her. She demanded to know how I could possibly exclude my own parents from the biggest day of my life. My father sent a brief message, expressing disappointment but not really siding with anyone, which deepened my hurt. Since then, the family has become very polarized. My siblings, 3 younger brothers, have mostly supported me, but they also feel the weight of the family dynamics. They understand the toxicity of our mother, but are torn because of their love for her. Now my parents have begun reaching out to extended family, casting me as the ungrateful daughter who is abandoning them. They've started to paint me as the villain in their narrative, which I can't help but find deeply unsettling. Family members I haven't spoken to in years have chimed in, asking about things, sharing their concerns for my well-being, and how I must love my fiancé more than my parents. As I navigate this, I feel more resolute. I want to stand my ground, but I'm also starting to question if I've crossed a line. My fears are compounded by the fact that my mother is planning to attend anyway. She's hinted at showing up, uninvited, and I know I'll have to confront her if she does. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for not allowing my parents to attend my wedding? I feel justified in my decision, but guilt is creeping in with every passing day. Part 1. Seeking advice. This story has turned into quite an emotional roller coaster. After the emotional upheaval of my family dinner confrontation, there's been a lot of back and forth with friends trying to gather opinions on my situation. I decided to post here in hopes of gaining perspective from those who may have gone through something similar. The feedback from my friends has been mixed. Some support my decision completely, thinking I deserve a day full of love and joy, while others feel I might be being too harsh. Their concerns have fueled my doubts, making me wonder if I should reconsider my stance. The wedding is fast approaching, and every day that passes is filled with mounting anxiety. The idea of my mum potentially crashing the wedding has kept me awake at night, especially since I've worked hard to create a day that reflects the love between Jake and me, rather than a swirling mess of family dynamics. I begin counting the weeks to the wedding, reminding myself to focus on the positive aspects of this journey. There are exciting plans in motion: cake tastings, flower arrangements, and finalizing the guest list with people who uplift and support us. Amid this chaos, Jake has been my rock. He reassured me that my feelings are valid and it's okay to protect my happiness. He reminded me that it's our wedding day and we should prioritize creating a supportive environment. This has been grounding but doesn't completely erase the guilt bubbling beneath the surface. I reached out to a close friend, Emily, who is very familiar with my family dynamics. Over coffee, I opened up, giving her the whole backstory. Once, again she echoed Jake's sentiments. I think it's important to take care of yourself. You've spent years trying to be the dutiful daughter while healing from the emotional scars your mom left. If she can't respect your boundaries, that's on her, not you. Her words resonated with me, and I started to feel the weight lifting slightly. Yet questions remained. What if my parents showed up anyway? What if my mom tried to ruin the day? I had to come up with a plan to keep the peace. Part 2. Planning for the wedding day. As the wedding day approached, I felt pulled in multiple directions. I needed to focus on the love I would celebrate with Jake, while also preparing mentally to handle the potential fallout with my parents. We decided to create a security plan, so to speak. My friend Sarah, who has been my confidant and support person throughout all of this, offered to take on the role of bouncer in case my parents attempted to attend. She was completely on board and promised to keep them away, asserting that she had my back no matter what. I admired her determination, feeling somewhat relieved that I wouldn't have to face my family drama alone. Knowing I had her by my side helped my anxiety diminish a bit, and I focused more on what was truly important: the love and commitment Jake and I were about to share. The day of the wedding finally arrived. I awoke to a beautiful morning filled with sunshine. As I looked around at my reflection in the mirror while getting ready, I felt a surge of gratitude for what I was about to experience. Friends surrounded me, each dressed in their beautiful attire, adding to the joyous atmosphere. We proceeded with hair and makeup, laughter filling the space as we reminisced about stories from the past. It felt so overwhelmingly positive, and I tried to push aside the niggling thoughts about my parents. The venue was stunning, and everything had come together perfectly. My heart raced with excitement as I put on my wedding dress, a lovely gown that Jake had carefully helped me pick out. It was simple yet elegant, perfectly fitting my personality. As we prepared for the ceremony, I felt an underlying nervousness, but not about marrying Jake. It was about the reality of my parents potentially showing up. I took a deep breath, whispering comforting affirmations to myself as we lined up for the ceremony, and then it was time. Walking down the aisle, I was met with familiar and loving faces from our families and friendships we had nurtured. When I reached Jake, I could see the adoration in his eyes, the kind of look that affirmed everything was going to be okay. The ceremony was beautiful. We exchanged vows under a blanket of flowers, surrounded by the warmth of our loved ones. I felt the authenticity of the moment wash over me, and I realized how little the drama transpiring with my parents mattered just then. As we hit the celebratory portion of the evening, dancing and laughter filled the air. It was everything I had envisioned, a gathering of love that included the people who lifted each other up. Part 3. The Unexpected Confrontation. Just when I thought things couldn't get better, I looked up to see Sarah making her way toward me with a serious expression on her face. I felt my heart drop, my instincts causing panic to pulse through me. "Hey, we need to talk," she said urgently, pulling me to a quieter area away from the crowd. "What's going on? Did my parents show up?" Yes. They're outside," she said quietly, glancing back. Their car just pulled up. Tension gripped me again, and in that moment I felt unsteady. What do we do? Are they causing a scene? "They haven't gotten out of the car yet, but they're arguing. Your mom is yelling at your dad. Sounds like they're going back and forth about whether they should come in or stay out," she whispered, taking my hand, determined to keep the peace. I knew I couldn't let this escalate. "I want them to know that it's not okay to disrupt things. Can you keep them from coming in?" "I'm not ready for this," I sighed, my voice wavering slightly. "Absolutely," Sarah assured me. "Just let me take care of it." With that, she left, and I could only hope the chaos wouldn't unfold any further. My heart raced as I reluctantly took a few minutes to collect myself, reminding myself that I wouldn't let them ruin my day. A little while later, I was pulled out of my spiral of anxious thoughts as the sounds of laughter and celebration filled the air. I peered out to find the party continuing smoothly, so I took a moment to join in and enjoy the evening. Yet, the dread lingered in the back of my mind, like a storm cloud lurking on the horizon. A few minutes later, I noticed Sarah returning with a composed expression, yet a slight uncertainty in her eyes. "Okay, they're not coming in, but it didn't go as planned," she stated, a cautious tone laced in her words. "What happened?" "They tried to enter, and I told them that they were not welcome. Your mum was furious, yelling at me, and she started going off about how you're a selfish daughter. Your father stood there silently, looking conflicted. After a huge back and forth, she finally turned on her heel and stormed away, indicating that they'll likely be leaving, but they lingered for a moment." I breathed out a sigh, feeling that mix of hopelessness and relief wash over me. "Okay, so they didn't disrupt things." "For now, no. But I have a feeling this isn't over," Sarah cautioned. As I rejoined the festivities, I still felt tinged with anxiety, but I also felt empowered. This was my wedding, and I wouldn't allow anyone, even my parents, to take that joy from me. As the night went on, we danced, toasted, and shared heartfelt moments. Still, my heart sank a little every time I glanced toward the door, anticipating that maybe, just maybe, they would show up uninvited. But as the hours ticked by, it became increasingly clear that they wouldn't. Part 4. Setting Boundaries. The following weeks after the wedding were filled with appreciation for the love we had celebrated. Jake and I basked in the afterglow, enjoying our honeymoon and going through the photos together, cherishing the moments captured. But reality caught up with me when the storm of post-wedding life settled in. My parents were still trying to reach me. The late-night messages started pouring in. My mother bombarded me with text after text, demanding to know why I had snubbed them on such a significant occasion. The phrases "disowned" and "unforgivable" stood out among her desperate pleas for forgiveness. There was also a toxic comment buried within asserting how my decision would affect my future, much more than I realized. At first, I felt the familiar twinge of guilt creeping in, but then I reminded myself again of everything I had endured. I decided to set boundaries. With shaking hands, I typed out a response. "Mom, I love you, but I need space right now. I'm happy with my decision to prioritize my mental health, and I would appreciate it if you stopped reaching out until I'm ready to talk." I sent the message and closed my phone. It was unsettling, but I was resolute. Days went by without any additional messages from either parent. My brothers reached out to check on me, asking if I was okay. They understood my decision, and for the first time I felt that our bond was strengthening amid the family turbulent waters. My mother's silence left me feeling anxious, but I tried to suppress the urge to reach out myself. The months passed, and our peaceful honeymoon phase with Jake continued. We spent quality time with friends and explored new hobbies together. Everything felt blissful, without the weight of family drama bearing down on us. It wasn't until a family gathering that the tension resurfaced. I initially hesitated to attend, concerned about running into my parents. However, my brothers assured me they would protect me, and this gathering wouldn't be chaotic. I went, holding my head high. To my relief, my parents weren't present, and I openly enjoyed the time spent with my family. Feeling emboldened, I slowly built stronger relationships with my brothers, the casual storytelling around family lore, laughter ringing through. The room and the sense of belonging felt fulfilling. However, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. I kept getting the sense that my parents, especially my mother, would erupt again. Part 5. The Truth. Unfolds months. Later, I got a call from my brother telling me that our mother had finally reached out to them. The messages had spiraled into something darker, fueled by resentment. They claimed I wasn't being a good daughter and that I had chosen a man over my own blood. My brothers stood firm, refuting her claims, reminding her that her behavior had alienated me over time. They communicated this was no longer my fault. Something had to give, and it wasn't me anymore. After a lengthy conversation, we decided it was time for a family meeting. We gathered at my younger brother's house in a fearless agreement to confront the chaos that had been brewing for far too long. The day of our meeting finally came, and my mother was noticeably apprehensive, but still arrived with my father at her side. I felt an uncomfortable tension lining the air, conscious of the battle that was about to unfold. As we sat down together, my brother opened the floor. He conveyed how our parents' actions were impacting all of us, every single one of us, and that it was time to discuss this as a family. The conversation ensued, filled with raw honesty about the damage done and the strains affecting us. Finally, I stood up to address my mother. "Mom, I love you, but I'm no longer going to allow your words or actions to hurt me. I deserve respect and love, and if you can't provide that, then our relationship needs to change." She looked stunned, the emotional walls starting to crumble as I talked. It was a mixture of compassion and rage. But what I said resonated with everyone present. "You are my parents, but I will not keep being the punching bag for your frustrations," I stated. "I expect you both to acknowledge your actions and recognize the pain they caused me. If you want to rebuild this relationship, it will take effort on both our ends." My father finally piped in with a meek apology. I had no idea things were this bad. I often distanced myself thinking it was best. We just didn't want to face the reality. Slowly but surely, the reasoning began to take shape. And though my mother still had defensive moments, it was clear she was realizing the impact her words had over the years. After turning the tides, the meeting marked a meaningful transition. We promised to continue these conversations, plan more family gatherings, and reinforce love and respect among us. That night ended on a bittersweet note. I understood that healing takes time, and it may not fully resolve, but I also felt empowered. I set boundaries for myself, and finally felt prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Epilogue. Moving forward. A few months down the line, things shifted incrementally among our family. My mother started reaching out, albeit cautiously. Our conversations began to transform from harsh criticisms to more gentle topics, navigating through shared memories and common experiences. In the process of healing, we fell into a pattern that felt promising. Jake and I continued building our life together, creating memories that grounded us, one day at a time. I kept my boundaries strong, allowing myself the space to grow while navigating the newly restructured dynamics with my family. And while I realized the journey was far from perfect, I felt a sense of peace in knowing I had the power to reclaim my happiness. No longer was I the wayward daughter getting trapped in a toxic cycle. Instead, I began rewriting my story as a strong, resilient woman who learned to merge love with boundaries, always ensuring my voice was heard. I may not have the perfect family unit, nor would my parents ever fully understand the impact of their past actions, but amid uncertainty, I remained steadfast in celebrating my life and forming my tribe full of understanding and support. The story continues, but as I choose to replace guilt with happiness, I know I'm on the right path. Am I the a-hole for not going to my daughter's wedding after her decision? Background: a few months ago, my 48M daughter Clara, 24F, announced that she was getting married to her long-term girlfriend, Jessica, 25F. Clara came out to me about her sexuality when she was a teenager, and while I had a hard time accepting it at first, I've come to be supportive of her and her relationship with Jessica. They both have been living together for about 2 years, and I genuinely believe that they were perfect for each other. Now here's the catch. Clara decided to have a non-traditional wedding. She and Jessica opted for a thematic wedding based on their favorite fantasy series. Think Game of Thrones meets Lord of the Rings with elves, knights, and a variety of fictional creatures. Cool, right? Well, here's the thing. They both decided that the wedding would be held in a vibrant Renaissance fair setting, with costume requirements for all attendees. They wanted everyone to get into character. The conflict. When Clara reached out to me about the wedding, she informed me that she and Jessica wanted guests to wear costumes. I was fine with this at first, as I thought it would be a fun and unique experience. However, when I found out that the costume rules applied to her immediate family, I became hesitant. Despite being a supportive father, the thought of donning a full-on fantasy costume was daunting. As much as I wanted to support Clara and Jessica, I simply wasn't comfortable dressing up in anything extravagant. I'm your average middle-aged dad who prefers jeans and a plain t-shirt. My idea of dressing up is putting on a nice shirt and shoes. I immediately expressed my concerns to Clara. "Clara, I love you and I want to be there for you, but I don't think I can wear a costume," I said over the phone. Her reaction was mixed. She assured me that it would be a lot of fun and encouraged me to at least try to find something simple that could suit the theme. However, the more she pushed, the more anxious I became. I felt it was ridiculous for me to dress up at my daughter's wedding when I thought my presence should be more important than any costume. As the wedding date approached, Clara called me multiple times to check in and remind me about the costumes. I tried to brush it off, making up excuses each time, saying I was busy with work or that I simply hadn't found anything suitable. It was starting to make my anxiety peak. The ultimatum things escalated when Clara called me a week before the wedding. "Dad, can I count on you to wear something fitting?" she asked, her tone a mix of hopefulness and frustration. "I really don't think I can, Clara. You know I'm not comfortable with that." "Dad, this is kind of important to me. I want everyone to be involved in the spirit of the wedding." "Clara, can't I just wear a nice shirt and jeans? I promise I'll still make it a memorable day for you." "Yes, but that's not the point. We want everyone to participate. It's a theme wedding, please just consider it." I could hear the disappointment in her voice. They had spent so much time planning and preparing, and I was the only one who wasn't getting with the program. In a moment of impulsiveness, I said the words that would spiral everything out of control. "Fine. If you think that's the only way I can be there, then maybe I won't come at all." Silence followed on the other end of the call. The decision after. I hung up. I felt a rush of guilt wash over me. I thought about Clara's big day, about how excited she must be. Still, the thought of wearing a costume gnawed at me. So I tried to shake the feeling off, but the more I thought about it, the more determined I became not to compromise my own comfort. In the days leading up to the wedding, Clara sent me a range of texts, some pleading, some angry. I could hear her, frustration through the screen, and I started getting cold feet. Part of me wanted to just go and enjoy the day with her, but the thought of being ridiculed in a costume pulled me away. Finally, the day of the wedding arrived, and I found myself in a quandary. I was still undecided. I had a ticket booked for the event, but as I stared at the costume I vaguely thought about throwing together, anger swelled in me. I convinced myself that if they loved me, they would accept me for who I was, and that my presence should stand on its own merit. An hour before the ceremony, I made the decision to sit this one out. I texted Clara that I wouldn't be attending, citing the need to deal with some things at home. However, instead of feeling relieved, I felt a pit in my stomach. I knew I had disappointed her, but the thought of going through with the costume haunted me even more. The aftermath. The next day I woke up to a flood of missed calls and frantic text messages from Clara. I finally decided to respond that evening. Hey, Clara, I hope you had an amazing wedding. I'm sorry for not making it. I just needed to be true to myself. Her response was direct. Dad, I can't believe you chose not to come. This is one of the most important days of my life, and you missed it over a costume. The next few days were tense. Clara was cold towards me, and I could tell she was heartbroken. Not just that I didn't show up, but that I made it about myself rather than supporting her happiness. I tried to apologize, but I knew what I did was irreparable in her eyes. Eventually, we had a face-to-face conversation at her house. Clara was still glowing from the wedding despite my absence, but I could see the disappointment in her eyes. Dad, I don't understand how you could do this, she softly said, her voice cracking. I didn't mean to hurt you, kiddo, I guess. I thought you would understand. I do understand, but this wasn't just a wedding to me. It was a celebration of love, and I wanted you there more than anything. That was when I realized how selfish I had been. I made it about my discomfort rather than celebrating my daughter's happiness, and I knew it. The conclusion, as the days passed, things remained strained and I wanted to make amends. I reached out and got a nice gift, an elaborate frame for one of their wedding pictures. I also included a heartfelt letter admitting my fault, hoping she would forgive me, Clara, and I took baby steps to rebuild our relationship. It wasn't easy, but I learned a valuable lesson about priorities. I had to ask myself, was I really being true to myself? Or was I being foolishly stubborn? After weeks of awkward silence, we began to communicate more openly. Clara, eventually, invited me over for dinner, but I knew there was still a long way to go. Time has softened things, and while Clara has expressed her hurt, she is gradually coming to terms with my decision. I do regret not being there for her on that special day, but I have come to see the importance of showing up, both literally and figuratively, even when it's challenging. As for Clara, each day adds another layer to her heart's healing, and I'm glad we're in a place of talking again. So am I the a-hole for choosing not to attend my daughter's wedding over a costume? I feel like I should have taken the leap, but it was an unsettling leap for me. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for my friend's wedding? Background: so I, 28F, have a close-knit group of friends who have known each other since high school. We're a tight circle, and though we've scattered across the country for work or school, we try to stay in touch as much as possible. We regularly gather for game nights, birthdays, and other celebrations. Recently, one of my best friends, Sarah, 27F, got engaged to her long-term boyfriend, Mark, 28M, and they decided to have a big wedding. They're really excited, and of course we're all thrilled for her. However, here's where things get a bit complicated. The wedding plans, Sarah and Mark, are planning a lavish wedding with a budget in the range of $50,000. They want a venue that can accommodate a large number of guests, fancy catering, decor, and a live band. Of course, they want their day to be perfect, which I totally understand. The only problem is that Sarah has been repeatedly asking each of her friends to contribute towards her wedding costs, specifically in the range of $1,500 apiece. Now, I want to support Sarah, but when she first approached me, I gently explained that while I would love to help in some capacity, I simply couldn't afford to take on such a large expense at this point in my life. I'm currently paying off student loans and saving up for a house deposit, which has made it quite tight financially. After a few days of silence, I received a text from Sarah, essentially trying to persuade me. She said something along the lines, "Svais, it's just one day and I want to make it special. Plus all my bridesmaids are chipping in. You are one of my closest friends. I thought you would want to be a part of this." The confrontation feeling a bit pressured, I called Sarah to talk things through. I explained my situation in detail, expressed how much I cared about her, and told her I wanted to support her but couldn't contribute financially the way she'd asked. I offered to help with planning, DIY projects, or anything else that didn't involve money. The line went quiet for a moment, and then she snapped back at me. "Honestly, I can't believe you're willing to be so selfish. This is an important moment in my life. You seriously can't spare $1,500 to support me as a friend. It feels like you don't value our friendship. Ask yourself if I'd do the same for you." I was taken aback by her reaction. I had always been there for Sarah, helping her through breakups, cheering her when she landed her dream job, and even standing by her side during the tough times. I expressed this, but Sarah cut me off, saying she just didn't understand how a good friend wouldn't be willing to invest in her happiness. I hung up feeling frustrated and hurt. I sent her a message afterward, reiterating that I was there for her in every other way, but I couldn't support her financially. Instead of replying, she took to social media, making a vague post about fake friends who can't step up for you during the big moments. The fallout, our mutual friends started chiming in, not really knowing the details of our conversation, but taking Sarah's side. A few of them reached out and said they were disappointed in me for not being willing to help. Some even implied that if I couldn't financially support her, I shouldn't be attending the wedding at all. Feeling ostracized by the group, I decided to ask another friend, Melissa, 29F, for advice. I thought maybe she'd have a more neutral perspective, since she was one of the few who understood my financial situation. However, when I brought it up, she looped Sarah into the conversation without my knowledge. The text exchange that followed was even more heated. Sarah accused me of being manipulative and two-faced. That night, I tried to sleep but found myself unable to shake the overwhelming feeling that I was being unfairly targeted. I lashed out, sending a group text clarifying my side. To my surprise, very few people responded in my defense. I got backlash instead. The wedding day approaches. As the wedding approached, things only got worse. I started receiving passive-aggressive messages from our friends about how I was not really supportive and how real friends would sacrifice for each other. A couple of friends even suggested that I should just suck it up and contribute. As weddings are once-in-a-lifetime events and all. Feeling lost, I began to weigh my options. Regardless of what happened, I didn't think I could afford to attend, so I planned to send Sarah a heartfelt message, wishing her the best and explaining my absence. On the day of the wedding, I posted a message on social media expressing my love for Sarah and how excited I was for her. The engagement was there where I really wanted to be. However, Sarah's family and friends responded with a barrage of negativity. To say I felt betrayed would be an understatement. The decision that you read. Following week, I found myself lost in thought. I felt I had been backed into a corner. I had lost not just Sarah, but also the friends who didn't support me or understand my situation. Friendships that I thought would withstand anything were crumbling because of this pressure. I reached out to another close friend, Josh, 28M, who had been a sounding board throughout this ordeal. His advice was to consider if Sarah was the kind of friend I wanted in my life, someone willing to throw away years of friendship over a financial disagreement. By the end of the week, I decided I needed some space from this group altogether. I unfollowed Sarah and uninvited myself to the group chats, focusing on my mental health and the friendships that felt more balanced. The resolution. Months passed, and I continued my life, focusing on rebuilding myself and trying to figure out effective communication styles with my other friends. I eventually got a text from Sarah asking if we could talk things over. After much deliberation, I agreed. When we met up, it was awkward at first. I was apprehensive, not sure if she was about to lash out or if this was a genuine attempt to resolve our differences. Turns out it was a mix of both. "Look," Sarah started, "I've been doing a lot of thinking. I guess I was super stressed about the wedding and expectations. I didn't mean to place that burden on you, and I realize now that I was kind of selfish." I let her talk. We exchanged apologies about how we handled things and came to an understanding about our friendship. It was complicated, but I appreciated that she recognized my perspective. Conclusion: now that months have passed since the wedding, I've been able to rebuild those friendships alongside Sarah. We may not be as close as we once were, but we're working on it. In hindsight, I feel justified in my decision to stand by my values, while also staying as supportive as I could. It reminded me how critical it is to communicate openly in friendships, while setting boundaries that help preserve your own well-being. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for a friend's wedding, or was it a valid stance in upholding my own financial boundaries?